If I take a balloon and I fill it full of water, nothing other than water. Mind you, the balloon was completely empty before I put the water in. I have combined water and a balloon to make a water balloon. Now I acknowledge that I am only the part creator of this water balloon, as someone had to manufacture the balloon and someone had to filter and provide the water. However, one thing we are certain of is that there is only water in this balloon, and the balloon is just a balloon. But looking closer, I see that there's a little bit of molestation in this balloon. There's also a little bit of rape inside this balloon. I'm starting to notice a little glimmer of murder, and I think I see genocide floating around in this balloon as well. But let's jump back a few steps. How did these atrocious activities get inside my balloon? Well, why don't we ask some of the most creative liars in the world? Some of the most ignorant and delusional people that walk this earth. Christians. How did all those things get in my balloon? An honest person may say that I put all those things inside the balloon and just lied to you all this time. Or they may say that I made up the whole scheme just to make your brain function exactly the way I wanted it to. Either way, as far as my credibility goes, it's not looking so good. So let me ask you something about your God. Where did rape come from? Where did molestation come from? What is this wicked, amazing invention we call murder? You can say the devil invented it, but who invented the devil? If you want to approach religion from a logical stance, then you'll probably want to admit one of the following. 1. God is a f***up. 2. God is a sick and twisted pervert. And for all you crazy Christians out there, I'll just leave number 3 up to you. Because I know you're just gonna fabricate another lie that will somehow make yourself feel better about who you are. To the many women and very few men watching this video who have suffered rape, I'm sure that you are very aware that there are quite a few cruel people in this world. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself why this happened to you? Assuming the Bible has merit in saying this is the only life we get, why is it that murderers and rapists will go through their entire life without being murdered or raped themselves, and yet you suffer such a crime? Why is it so many horrible things happen to good people and so many good things happen to horrible people? Do you think that if God really cared about you, that he would let this happen to you? Do you think that if this almighty God didn't want you to be violated so horrifically that it would still happen? Why don't you look up the 3 men that survived the furnace? Why don't you look up Noah's Ark? Why don't you look up Daniel in the lion's den? According to his own book, he has the capability to save whoever he wants. And the bottom line to all the victims of genocide, murder, rape, molestation: you're not important enough for God's time. If you believe in this Bible written by flawed men, and you believe in this God who is clearly imperfect, you must accept that you only have one life to live, and while everyone else is living a perfectly happy life, you were dealt a crappy hand of cards. And who do you blame? Well, you can blame God. If this was just a trial so you could earn your way into heaven, then ask yourself why everyone doesn't go through this same trial. If you think bad things happen to people just so they can have some kind of epiphany and eventually find God, then why don't you go tell that to the dead baby in a dumpster? But before you go bother anyone else with your nonsense, please, go look in the mirror. Ask yourself if you walk into a busy road if any of the cars will stop for you. Ask yourself why so often when you pray for something, the results are often random. Oh yes, it's just the mysterious way of God, and sometimes God says no. Well, what would the result be if you didn't pray at all then? If something is the will of God, then it's going to happen regardless of whether or not you pray for it. And this is obvious from you praying for the people to survive AIDS and cancer, and yet they still die. Listen, I'm not trying to make you cry or make your life miserable. I'm trying to save your life. It's time for you to stop wasting so much time on a lie and start focusing on the real world around you. Instead of passing out church invitations to the homeless, why don't you give them a few pieces of food instead? Imagine all we could accomplish on Saturdays and Sundays, Saturdays for Seventh-day Adventists, if we didn't go to church. Maybe instead of trying to deter science from discovering how we were really created, we could actually promote them. Whenever your time comes and you finally die someday, it won't be God standing next to your bed. No, the odds are it'll be all the people that you've put second to your God. And if you are in that situation, then you're one of the lucky ones. Because for all of the other people who are dying every minute of every day, it's not so easy. When they're gang beaten by a group of thugs and stabbed to death for $12, they cry out to their God and no one comes. When they're starving in the desert and they scream for someone to help them, no one comes. When an opposing tribe raids their village and murders their family only to murder them, no one comes. And you and all the horrible deeds that you were, quote, forgiven for, unquote, you get to die of old age, surrounded by those you say you love. This is the world you live in, it's time to stop living a lie. And giving up your imaginary friend may very well be the most productive thing you've done in your life thus far. Do not believe an invisible man is watching you at all times. Believe in yourself. Stand up for yourself and stop being so weak that you must rely on someone who does not even exist to help you. In many instances in your life, you will be alone and you will only have yourself to rely on. You have the capability in your life to accomplish great things, and not because of some higher power, but because of human power. You have this capability because you are free. You are not a slave or a servant of some god. You are free. Free to be whatever you wish to be.